Hello, hello. My name is Kyle from Pollinate, and I'm going to go over my home gym program. This is a 5 day week, 5 days per week program. And before that, I have to put on my gym bro hat, and I'm ready. So, first of all, before going to the actual program, I want to talk about the actual philosophy and mindset necessary for the program itself. So the program, well, like any program, there's three things that are probably the most important. Not the number of bicep exercises that you have to do, not how many bench press you do per day or whatever. What not how wide your grip is for bench press. Those are not that relevant. It has something to do with these things called volume, intensity, and frequency. Any program that's worth its salt should be talked about these three things. Frequency is essentially how often do you work out the muscles that you need or want to grow. And it's not really talked about online, but inherently it's the number of times that you work out or how many times you program it per day of the week. So essentially, how often are your muscle groups trained? Are they trained, generally speaking, at least twice a week? And the frequency really depends on the recovery of that particular muscle. Some muscles can take more beating than others, particularly the upper back. And you will see later that the muscle groups that can be taken, that can recover more and that can be beat up more are worked out more, and the muscles that aren't as much are not. Intensity, the second one, is how how close to failure are you going on each of your sets. I personally like the RPE method, the rate of perceived exertion. That just means from 0 to 10, how close are you to failure? 10, you can't do any more sets. 9, you can probably do one more rep. 8, you can probably do two more reps. And there is another one that's called RIR, reps in reserve. It's pretty much the same thing, just kind of flipped. So if you say 0 reps in reserve, that means you only have 0 left. So you went to failure. Or in RPE terms, that's RPE 10. If you are 1 rep in reserve, you have one more rep before you fail. In RPE terms, that's RPE 9. So essentially, you want to take all of your, most if not all of your reps very close or to failure. And that really depends. Some exercises taken to absolute failure or very near to failure are much harder and much difficult compared to other exercises. So, namely, the more weight that you do, the harder it is. An RPE 10 bicep curl is still hard, but not as going to be as hard as an RPE 10 squat. They're just two different things. You just use much more muscles, more joints are moved at the squat, more weight is moved, your nervous system is used, your whole body is used. But for bicep curls, they're just your biceps. And the third and last is the volume. How many sets do you do per week? And you can kind of scatter this. And every good program kind of messes and tinkers with each of these parameters. If you increase what the frequency, the intensity kind of has to move too. The volume has to move. If you move the intensity, the other have to move. And if you move the volume, the other two, frequency and intensity, have to move also. So those are not that talked about, but those are really important. So when people think, hey, what workout program should I do? That's a very, very vague question to ask. It depends on your goals, what your level of fitness is, how knowledgeable are you with machines and exercises, what type of equipment are you, do you have a home, do you have access to all of the gym equipment. I personally have a home gym. So I built this over the years. I have a squat rack, I have a barbell, I have a bench, I have an easy curl bar, I have a cable machine. Um, so I personally like to use a lot of supersets. So because at I'm not at LA Fitness, I don't have to be um oh, I have a comment. I think that's Phil. I'm not sure. So Zago or says, "Are you still coaching Josh?" Yes, I am. Um, I have been since October 2022. So that has been almost 2 years now and a few months, 4 months, which is crazy, which is a long time. I actually learned a lot from Josh. I already knew a lot, but it was more of I want to say the ranking of importance that I learned, because before I knew a lot of different things, but it was hard to kind of put what was important and what was not as important. Um, but yeah, Josh helped me a lot the last 2 years. Maybe I'll do a video in terms of like the progression over the years without Josh, then with Josh. Yeah, maybe I'll do a video. Thank you, Chang Nation. Yes, it is. Maybe I can do a tour too. And yes, thank you for that. Hide. Okay. I was saying earlier, I personally like to do a lot of supersets just because I don't like taking a lot of time in the gym. I try my best to keep my phone away. I just listen to music and do my sets. That's it. And I don't put a chair in the gym too, because that makes me want to sit down and just zoom off and not think about anything. And yeah, going back to the whole reason that we have these three concepts, frequency, intensity, volume, is so that we want to provide stimulus to the muscles. And with enough stimulus, the muscle has enough reason to grow. If the muscle grows more and recovers, that's how we actually grow from the muscles, and we get progressive overload from that, and we just get stronger from it. And recovery comes in a lot of different ways. When people think recovery, that's sleep, just pure resting. Are you giving enough time for your muscles to rest? Again, like I said before, some muscles just need more time than others. Personally, I can't really bench that often, or else I'll probably get just some joint issues. My shoulder hurts, my elbow starts to hurt. But for my upper back, I can just take a lot of beating from my upper back. And you will see later that the way I set up my routine, my home gym, it's much varied to my needs and to my capabilities. So that's why every program, in a sense, needs to be um, tailored to the person. At first, a lot of beginners can kind of use a general program, but you'll see that my program will have a lot of just volume in it. Yeah, recovery. This is everything outside the gym, really. Your sleep, how much food you're eating, the quality of your macros in your eating, how much stress are you getting from your life? Like, is your school that busy? Is your work that demanding? All of these really add up to how well you perform in the gym. Of course, we have a life outside the gym too. That's fine, but it has to be managed somehow so that the recovery aspect of the training is also, I don't want to say optimized, that's thrown out too much, but at least managed properly. What else is there? And it has to be fun. The gym has to be fun. Like that's something that we do a lot, right? If you like going to the gym, you probably spend at least, I want to say what, two, maybe 2 hours total if you go to the gym one day, right? The drive, getting ready, whatnot, and it depends on how long you go to the gym to or how often. So a good chunk of your life is in the gym, and thinking about the gym, and you might as well just enjoy it, right? Because this is a long game. This is not just, oh yeah, I'm gonna go to the gym and lose 10 pounds, and I'm not gonna go to the gym ever again. No, it's something that you do day in, day out, and so we might as well just enjoy it. Okay, this is a little on the technical side, but I will go one by one on this one. I'm just basically outlining what I personally like. Um, so I both have the free weights, so dumbbells, barbells, and the actual cable machines. Um, so I like doing a mix of that. Typically, you will see that I like to do the barbells first, just because that provides the most stimulus to my body, and I like doing barbell exercises. Before Josh actually, I was way too much in the powerlifting. Um, Powerlifting is good, but I think I overemphasize on my strength. And just because I wanted to be stronger, I put too much time and effort into doing the powerlifting movements, namely, as you know, squat, deadlift, bench. But that's not the way, really. I think the only reason I skewed towards that was because I was not getting any progress in the gym in terms of hypertrophy and getting bigger muscles. But the way to go is just a mix of different combinations. The barbell, and a lot of volume from isolation exercises. I still do the barbell exercises, but that's more of just like the beginner, just to put myself some stimulus. And now I do a lot of that in the beginning, then add the volume from the isolations, the flies, the curls, the cable machines to add the stimulus to my strength. I'll see it. I've been lagging on the comments. Low key Kyle, hella strong. Thank you, Josh. What's my strength level for bench press? I have no idea. I haven't been doing a lot of bench press. My strongest, but was when I was like 220 or 230. My strongest was about 255 for 5 or 6 reps. I don't remember. Now I want to say it's hard because the bench press is definitely a very skill based movement. And of course, you still need the musculature to move the weight, but a lot of it is skill based, and a lot of it's easy to forget. Not just physically forget, but the way that your neurons are firing, that could just be out of skill that you forget. Long story. I'm not answering a question, but if I had to guess, about two, I think I did it recently actually. Probably around 200 for a few reps, two or three. Um, so I'm sure it's gonna go back again. Um, but I'm not so optimized for bench press now because that just the bench press is just it's more like a very bro movement for the chest, obviously. But if you really want to build your chest and just how like an aesthetic physique, it has to be the whole shebang, right? You got to have a main movement. You got to have a fly movement. Some people, and if you see this online too, like a lot of elite benchers only have, especially if they bench very wide, like very very wide, and their bench ROMs like this, they have very small arms. Because that's just because they just use most of their chest and leverage, right? And what am I training for? I think it's just fun. But I just want to build more muscle, really. Like overall, like a more V taper look. Um, I'd say I achieved a certain level of like a decent physique. Definitely not lean right now. Josh knows, but yeah, I'm more of just bodybuilding. Like I just want to get bigger everything. My chest is definitely lagging. My upper chest, or just chest in general. So just more of that silver era look. I really like the silver era. Okay. I think that's the first thing on the agenda. Second thing, that's fine. There's a rough estimate of what my rep schemes are. Typically, I kind of like to keep the strength lifts or the barbell lifts on the lower rep range. It just gasses me. And for pulling, any pulling movement, I like this rep range. And for isolation, the higher bicep curls, side delts. RPE, I tend to like to keep this on the 7 or 8. Just I don't like to go near failure. It's kind of scary for like especially squats or bench press. Sure, I keep the safeties on, but it's still not. I don't like grinding so much. It's just very taxing. It's very taxing. An RPE 9 squat and a bicep curl RPE 9 are just two different things. They're not going to tax your mind that much. The bicep, I mean. One more thing before I go to the actual program. I was thinking about this the other day. So, frequency, intensity, and volume. Those three things are extremely important to any good program. And I like to think of it as somewhat similar to chemicals. So, just like a chemical, it has a potency. Um, so, frequency is how often that you apply a certain chemical or medicine. How often do you do it? In this case, it's 5 days a week. So for the chemicals, for volume, is how much is it? What is the actual volume of it? In usually in science class, right? It's milliliters, liters, 0.5 liters. That's the volume of it. The intensity itself is the actual, let's say, I want to say that the actual dosage or the strength of the chemical. Water or alcohol could have maybe 5% alcohol. It could have 10% alcohol. It could have 20%. But the amount, the volume could still be the same, right? 100 milliliters for the same. So the intensity, these are all important things that they all are interchangeable because all of them really just means, in a sense, fatigue or stimulus or anything that affects the muscle enough, or stress, really, it's just stress, for it to push it towards recovery. And that's what we want. It's a never ending cycle of stress, stimulus, and recovery. The muscle gets stressed, the body recovers a little bit, the body gets stressed, recovers. Slowly, it's a line that goes up, up, down, up, but slowly trending up, right? Hopefully the mirror is not fucking it up. Okay. Second routine is the actual routine. Let's go take a look. So, first glance, there are 5 days. 5 days in the home gym. 1, push focus. 2, some lower and some back. 3, back focus, but with some everywhere. 4, some lower and delt arms. 5, upper again. Yes, it is a 5-day split, but I would say it's a full body gentleman split. Essentially, when people used to say full body, you train everything. But now I'm not really training everything. It just really depends on which body parts I want to focus on. But essentially, it's a full body split. Um, but with some biases here and there. Like I said, upper here, lower, upper, lower, upper. Um, and you will see that a lot of the sets are 3 days, excuse me, 3 sets. RPE will definitely be around the 8 to 9 to 10. I'm changing my mind a little bit on this. Before with Josh, we would do a lot of block periodization, but that bias is more on the strength side. But, and since I'm not particularly training for strength, I'm training more for hypertrophy. The progression is much more simple. Block periodization has a lot of different weeks, and each week is dedicated to something else that's different. But with normal hypertrophy training, it's much easier, really. All we're doing is double periodization. So what the weeks will look very, very similar. Essentially, with all and each exercise, I'm trying to get more reps per each exercise. And once I try and top out at the end of the rep range, I'll increase the weight of it by just a little bit. And then I'll slowly keep the reps up again while keeping the quality of the reps very, very high, keeping the rep quality very high, keeping the form very tight, very clean. I'm not saying perfect, just very clean, and just slowly. That's why it's called double progression. More reps, more reps, more reps. Decrease sets, but increase the weight. More reps, more reps, more reps. Decrease the weight, increase the weight. More reps, more reps, more reps. That's just a very basic double progression model. It's definitely on the slower side. It's not optimizing for strength, but that's fine. I don't really mind. What else is there? Okay, and one more thing. I like to do supersets, like I mentioned earlier. This is still kind of in the I would say it's probably 70%. I will never have a perfect home gym program just because it's always going to change. There's no perfect. We can go and go close to it, but it's never going to be perfect. So, like I said earlier, I like to do supersets. And each superset I like to do is with different exercises. I hate doing a bicep curl, for example, with the dumbbells, then doing lateral raises. Not because I don't think that's a good way to do it. It's more because I hate changing the weights. For example, I have 20s or 30s on the curls, then changing laterals for like the 20s. Like I don't want to do that. So you'll see that each superset is basically the number, then the letters. So the letters just means, hey, I'm going to do the barbell flat bench press. Then I'm going to the cable machine, and do the flies, the cable flies, then go back to the bench press. So essentially, I like to do supersets with different machines, so I don't have to think about the different weight that I have to change and tinker. And like I don't want to do that. So yeah, the supersets just mean if it has a letter. So 2A, 2B supersetted, 3 no superset. I think because it's a unilateral exercise, yeah. And you'll see too that I like to superset some things, but if it's like a barbell bench press or a front squat, the thing that I superset is pretty on the easier side. It's a small muscle, like the rear delts. That's pretty small. The front, the straight bar, straight arm, easy bar, pull that down. That's a little bit on the bigger muscle, the left shoulder extension, I think, or adduction. I always get that confused. Let me actually see extension. I have a cheat sheet right there. Let's see. Yeah, and okay, since it's a lot to digest, what I did was I created the same workouts but in different parts. Oh, Zago asked a question actually. What is the rest time between sets and exercises? It doesn't really matter. Um, I never really timed me myself. That was just too tedious to do it. So typically, if I do an exercise like, for example, barbell bench and a delt fly, I do the exercise, go RP8, go RP9, and I just take a breath for a few minutes or a few seconds, maybe 10 seconds. I don't like to superset right after. That's a little too tiring, too taxing. So maybe like take a breath for 10 seconds, then do the other exercise. So I would say I probably rest around a minute and 30 seconds, maybe a minute 30. It just depends on how ready I feel. I never really time it. Oh, it's 2 minutes now, so I gotta do the next. It's my heart's still beating, but I feel like I'm ready. I feel like my muscles are ready to fire. So yeah, I've created the same exact tab as this, but I've highlighted different parts. So you can see that I have the chest, triceps, shoulders, upper back, biceps, legs, abs. Yeah, abs. So as a true bro, I'm starting with the chest first. And I highlighted in green. So I think that's the fastest or the most easy way to understand and digest the program. You'll see that, like I said, I like to start things with the barbell. So on day one, I'm able to do a barbell bench press. And since my chest is some of a weak point, I like to do some flies too. Josh actually put me on the flies. I don't think I ever did flies before. I was too much heavy on the presses. So flat barbell press, I can't speak. Flat barbell bench press, or I can do maybe a Larson press too. It doesn't have to be a barbell bench. Standing low to high, I can't speak. High to low cable fly, like this, like this, and sometimes I like it's like a lot of flying movements. It's just mind muscle connection. So it's because it's very easy to let the shoulders take over, or even the tricep a little bit. So it's a lot of just paying attention to the squeezing. Then on day two, unilateral cable pass around, another fly-like movement. Day three, unilateral low to high cable pass around or cable fly, another fly movement. Day four, a press, um, Larson press. And day five, non-seated, non-back supported AOHP. It's not necessarily a chest movement, but it's still a pressing movement. And I would say it works some of your upper chest too. So I put it there. So that's for chest. You can see that there's 3 presses in total and 3 flies in total. I would say it's a bit on the higher side, but that's why I say programs are specific. So my chest is somewhat of a weak area. So we're doing and putting a lot of volume 5 days a week. And these days don't really matter. I'm not a type of person that I must work out on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I don't care. As long as I'm doing 5 days a week, it's fine. And I set up the program in the sense that even if I mush it all together Monday to Friday, I feel still Well, that's the goal at least. I will feel refreshed enough to work out every day and have a 2 day break. So that's for the chest. Triceps. So the triceps are worked when I do the presses, like the barbell bench, the Larson press, a little bit, but it's not the main mover. The main movers of a chest workout or a chest press, like a bench press, is the chest, especially on the bottom part of the position. So for the actual tricep isolations, I like to do on day one cable rope tricep overhead extension. That biases the long head a little bit, especially when your elbows are fully extended or adducted. I'm not sure. Like this. Day three, an easy bar tricep push down, easy bar, and a flat easy bar skull crusher. Skull crusher. I cannot speak. You'll notice that I like to mix isolations with both the weight itself and a cable movement. So there's a cable movement, and a weight, a free weight. Now, next onto so in total, there's 3 exercises. They're worked out in isolation 3 times a week. Shoulders. This is a little bit more complex, just because there's 3 heads of the shoulders: the front, anterior, the side, the lateral, and the rear. But since the anterior, the front is worked around a lot already from bench pressing from here. So it's mostly like this, like raising your shoulder forward. But it's already kind of worked from pressing. We don't really need to, or I don't need to put more isolation on it. So the only heads of the shoulders that are isolated are the side delts or the lateral, the rear delts too. So first, day one, we do a cable rear delt fly for here. And we love the dumbbell lateral raises because most physiques, or at least the aesthetic physiques, you want to have more of a V taper. And that really biases the V taper if your side delts pop out. And that's why a lot of people like to have small waists, or at least it's genetically beneficial for you to have a small waist in bodybuilding, to have the small waist and the wide V taper, the shoulders, the traps, the upper back. And one of the reasons and one of the good physiques is to have a nice round lateral delts. So for third, lateral raises. Oh, this might be a little bit too heavy, but that's fine. I like to do it like a bro day on day 5. So face pulls for more of your rotator cuff and your rear delts. Again, your rear delts again. And see, I like to do straight weight or what's the word? Just free weights for the side delts and the cable lateral raise for the cables. So that's for shoulders. Upper back. This is confusing because the upper back has a lot of muscles. Your rhomboids, your lats, your traps, your rear delts are kind of part of your upper back too. But for the sake of ease, we can divide the upper back into 3 movements. And the 3 movements are shoulder extension for the pull downs, like this movement, the actual vertical pull. So anything like pull up, like this, that's your upper back and your lats. and a horizontal pull. So anything like a barbell row, like this, horizontal because you're facing the floor, horizontal to the floor, like this. Anything like this, that's a horizontal pull. So we can divide that into three: the pull downs, the vertical pulls, and the horizontal pulls. And there's a lot of exercises just because I set for those reasons, but it will make more sense once I break it down. So day one, there's a horizontal pull. Day two has a pull down and a vertical pull. Day three has a horizontal pull again, just like day one, and a vertical pull. Day four has a pull over. Excuse me. Day five has kind of everything. Horizontal, pull over, and a vertical. And if you notice, there's a method to the madness here that day one has more of horizontal. Day two has more of a pull down with some vertical. 3 has horizontal again. 4 has the pull down. 5 has the horizontal again and the pull down. So what I tried to do was Monday, for Wednesday, Friday has the rows more. Tuesday, Thursday has more of the pull downs. So I'm kind of spacing it out so that, yes, I'm technically working out upper back every day. But like I said before, the upper back can take a lot of beating. Just because it's a huge muscle. There's just so muscles in your upper back. It's almost saying your upper front. What's in your upper front? Your chest, your obliques, your abs, your front delts, right? Like that's all your upper front. So the upper back can take a lot of beating too. And going back to the philosophy here. See, there's a lot of main movements. Free weights, the seal row. I love the seal row. Seal row, I cannot speak. And a cable movement. And the pullovers. The pullovers are just really good for the stretch. Mostly in this area here. And I think that's for the upper back. 1 second. Biceps. Nothing too crazy. Day one, there's an easy bar curl, free weight, and more free weight, seated strict supinated curl. I might change this to a cable now that I'm seeing this. Day three, there's a cable rope curl. That's also good for some forearm isolation. And back to easy bar cable curl on day 4. Nothing crazy. Just put some isolation to the biceps. No need to overthink it. And legs, another muscle group with a lot of different muscles. Zalgo ask, do you directly target the brachialis? Yeah, anything that when you're neutral gripped like this. So that's why I like the rope curl. The rope curl is almost mimicking a hammer curl like this. So anytime you're curling with a neutral grip like this, your brachialis is also kind of targeted. So I don't go to the specifics too much. I think I'll know more of my weaknesses once I grow much bigger. But the smaller muscles like these, I think if you just put enough isolations to each of your muscle groups, it should take care of itself. Like if you're, yeah, over time, you'll see your weaknesses. Legs, like I said, this would just, there's a lot of muscle groups here, but the main movement, I cannot talk, the main movers of the legs is you have to have some kind of hinge movement. So that's why you see powerlifters just typically have very large legs, because there's two lifts out of the three that they have to use their legs, right? So with legs, you have to have some kind of hinge movement. It doesn't have to be a conventional deadlift. Um, I personally like the RDL, or Romanian deadlift, just because it's more of a stretch reflex, and you're kind of forced to not use too much weight if you use the RDL as opposed to a conventional. At my strongest, I got up to like a 455 for a conventional. I think it was for three. I don't remember. I think it was for three. I used straps and a belt, but the reason I got to that load, because the conventional heavy allows you to go to that load. But if it's just an RDL, I probably couldn't go that high. Maybe 3 plates, 300s. I'm not sure. And a squat. Again, it doesn't have to be a specific type of squat. It could be any kind of squat that you like. Low bar squat, high bar squat, front squat, even some lunges if you want. That's fine too. I like the high bar or a front squat. Anything that has more range of motion. That's why that's the hard thing with powerlifters. If you're a powerlifter, you're biased to use movement that carries more weight as opposed to builds more musculature on your body. And that's typically something like a low bar squat, just because you're more leveraged that way. And let's look at it again. So you'll see that I have the RDL, which I really like. The stretch reflex is really nice. So that's on one day. That's on day 4, and a squat, a front squat. Then you see a lot of random exercises here, and I figured I have a cable machine anyway, so I might as well use accessories. So sissy squats, it's a little bit more specific for my quads. I think for the teardrop, I'm not sure. Leg adduction. Adduction just means going inwards. Abduction is more of going outwards, like abducting a kid. Abduct. So adduction is like those what like girls like to use, like putting the thing on their ankles, and like this. So that targets more of the side, the adductors. The line cable leg curl. I'm going to experiment with this because I have the machine. I'm just gonna strap my ankle to the cable and like flex my leg and kind of curl it. But we'll see. I'll kind of set up a contraption somehow for this. And day 4, the hinge pattern and a glute cable kickback. Another thing that girls love to do at the gym, strap their ankle to the cable and kind of kick back, right? Like a donkey. I don't know. And I think that is for, did I do? Yeah. And abs. Last but not the least, the abs. Very important if you want to have a very balanced physique, because the abs are just what brings your physique, your package together. Which coincidentally I haven't had abs. I need to lean down. I'm pretty heavy. I'm like 200 at 5'10". I probably would have abs at 170 or even 160. But I haven't gotten that low in years. So it's very similar to the upper back. The abs can take a lot of volume, And again, this is the same things. I've been talking about it kind of in the background, but not directly. Volume, intensity, frequency. Because the abs can take a lot of stress. And I particularly don't like having a lot of intensity for the abs. So the intensity of the abs is lower. So the volume and the frequency is high. So each day of the week, I have some kind of ab exercise. This is something I also learned from Josh, just having one a day, just to kind of end the workout. Rope cable crunches, I like doing that. Cable leg raises, kind of just laying down on the floor and having my knees strapped to the cable machine and just putting my knees to my chest. Hanging leg raises, maybe targeting the lower, reverse dumbbell crunches, and V-ups. So they're all different exercises, but they all kind of target some different parts of the body. And I think that's it really for the actual routine. I tried my best to target each body part first, so it makes a little bit more coherent sense as opposed to just going one day at a time or two or three. Because I think it's supposed to be, personally, I think programs are meant to be looked as one by one, like your body part, not your whole body. Because yes, people say, oh, you shouldn't do a rest day. You should do a rest day before you go to the gym. Some people, you need a rest day. Not necessarily. If you're able to program the way you program your exercises to have spaces in between them. So yes, you can work out every day of the week, but if you alternate different exercises between the week, you've essentially had that muscle group kind of rested, and essentially you did have a rest day for that exercise at least. That's why that rest day trope is kind of stupid. People just don't. You can do other exercises. It's fine. Oh, I got another comment. Low key, Kyle's inner powerlifter still showing. I mainly just use machines cable when I work out now. Yeah, I think it's still in there. I like the grinding, and I just like the barbell exercises. Although I think the difference is I won't use it. I'm not going to be as attached to the specific number, because I think that was what happened to me before. I would get attached to the number that I was benching, I was squatting, I was deadlifting. But here, I won't be as concerned with the progression in the barbell movements for the flat barbell, the squat, the CO row, the tempo barbell, the OHP, the barbell rows. They're more going to serve as just general stimulus that I add to my body, kind of like a recipe. Like the bulk of a recipe would be maybe meat or rice or grains, corn, but they will always still be there. But the mover of the progressions would probably be the isolations, which are, for what I mentioned, the flies, the curls, the chin-ups, the dumbbell lateral raises. Those will be the ones that will provide the volume and stimulus to drive the progression and hypertrophy growth of the muscles, not necessarily the strength and the movement patterns that I gain from the barbell exercises. Those are more of just staples that I would have. I'm not going to be as attached to the outcome. It's just a good way for fatigue and general overall stimulus for the body. Oh yeah, I have a side comment, because also if you're benching, then you do flies. You're, as opposed to just doing the flies, you probably have to have a higher threshold and number of weight, reps, and sets for the flies for you to have the same amount of stimulus had you just benched in the beginning than done the flies. It's definitely a different philosophy, I would say. But at the end of the day, stimulus is stimulus. Um, Stimulus, whatever fills that need for stimulus and pushes that muscle for recovery, that's what's going to build the muscle. That's I have another. I don't. Let's see. The last thing is two more things. I didn't really take any notes for this visuals, but I also want to talk about the lessons I learned from doing my prep last year. So if you didn't know, I did my prep for a bodybuilding show in November of last year in Boston for Monster Mash, INBF, I think. And I think what I learned from that is consistency and execution matters more than the theory and all of that. Because a lot of us wants to, oh, yeah, that's what I hate about the fitness stuff right now these days. Everyone wants to have the optimal bicep exercise for this that the 45-degree angle is better than the 55-degree angle of the bench press. It's just there's no optimal with the exercises. There's the tried and true fundamentals that are necessary for muscle growth and going to the gym that can't be argued. That's why people like to debate about that random stuff on top. Supplements. What's the best bicep exercise for the maximal hypertrophic peak of the short head of the bicep? It's like that stuff doesn't matter. But that's why people don't talk about nutrition as much or like your sleep. That's just not talked about. How well is your stress life outside the gym? Like there's some fundamentals that will not change, and that's what I learned about going to the bodybuilding show. There is a plan. You stick to it. You go to your macros. You go to the gym. You probably feel like shit. You got to practice your posing. You got to do your steps. You got to go tanning. A lot of effort has to be done consistently day in, day out. And that's the biggest thing I learned, that a lot of it's just execution. It's a little boring, but that's the work. That's why it's called work, right? Sometimes it's just kind of boring, but that's part of it. Oh, I had more comments. China Nation agreed. There's no right way to approach lifting. Some people live and die by the barbell, versus others, like me, don't like spending too much warming up. No, that makes sense. That's why I'm gonna keep the barbells like RPE 7, RPE 8. I don't want to go too hard. Yeah, it's really just stimulus. Yeah, especially if you're stronger, right? Like I'm sure Josh can do like 2 plates easily on the bench. It just takes time to warm up. Or even 3. I think you did 3. So I'll go. What about neck? I actually have a neck harness. It's from Alpha. I think Alpha Destiny or Alex. Now he recommended the harness strap. I personally don't think you have to. I think it's a more of a specialization thing. I think you would definitely have just bigger neck from doing a lot of the main movements, like the barbell, deadlift, the squat. It just gets bigger. But there is a case to be done for sure for neck training once you have reach a certain point. But I would say it's not that necessary. Yes, I think it has to be looked at if it's just not proportional. But I think over time, just like eating more, doing a lot of the neck exercises, like not neck exercises, just deadlifts, it'll just get bigger. And the last comment I had was, besides the prep, why do I want to learn or focus on the building part of bodybuilding? I think for the longest time, I was like a perma cutter. I was a perma cutter. I definitely missed a lot of gains on the table from cutting for so long. That's the thing, right? Like, for example, like I said, I wasn't focusing on the basics, the fundamentals. I was like, oh, I was like an eternal fat kid. So I didn't eat enough protein. I didn't progress in the gym. And even though I was going to the gym for years, I just didn't look like I lifted. And now I think I want to just have a more mature look in the gym, just gain some more muscle and develop that more of a V taper. I can probably gain more in the next year or so. Especially if I just stick to this program, work hard, sleep well, progress in the gym, eat enough protein, 150.7 grams per body weight, train well, eat well. Yeah, but I just want to see how I look. Like, my more muscle doesn't hurt really. And finally, probably next year or later half of the year, this year, or even 1 year from now, cut down again. Then I'd be pretty happy with that. And oh wow, I actually hit 1 hour. Josh was right. Josh was right. Um, and if there's no any questions, I think that's it. Thanks for the viewers. I think I'm not sure who was viewing, but Salgo and Chang Nation or someone else. Thank you. Hope you learned something. I like talking about this. It's kind of I was definitely like a gym bro, even though I did not look like I was a gym bro in college and after college. That was like my main hobby, I think. Thank you, thank you. Great stream, great stream. What adjustable dumbbell you have? I have I bought this from Titan Fitness. It was Titan Fitness. Titan Fitness. It was really nice, actually. You gotta make sure you buy the Olympic, the 2-inch ones, not the 1-inch. So the 2-inch with the clamp. I got I forget this one, but it was a clamp from what the hell is their name? The biggest one. Not Chang Nation. Whatever. It's one of the best ones because it's a very tight clamp. I hate when the weights move around. This one just doesn't budge, and I like that. Great stream. Thank you. Yes, I do. I'm a gym bro at heart. I was called a soft boy before. That's me. What's a Pepin? Pepin? Dumbbell. Pepin. Oh, that looks really nice. Oh, I think Alex from Alpha Destiny also has that. All right, cool. 1 hour. Thank you guys.